Welcome everybody, I guess, to ScrubCast episode 3. I did patch it onto one that Sheer and I did a while ago, which was quite a bit longer, but I'm going to be shortening it down and changing up the format. This is the whole point of this, was we're figuring out as we go here. I'm back again with Wild King.
Hello.
Who is a little bit quiet on mine. Maybe I'm just going to bring him up a bit. We'll see if I can. Oh, you're already.
I'm always a little
You're already
quiet.
200% on mine, and you're still quiet. So that whatever. We're gonna go with it. It'll be fine. And we have. All right, well, I guess the Overwatch 2 beta is over, and we have some thoughts and feelings that we'd like to share a little bit about it because we've been playing quite a bit of the normal Overwatch competitive, or at least as I've been playing quite a bit of. I think Wild has been too.
Been grinding on the DPS.
Ooh, grinding DPS. What are you going for right now? What rank?
Might hit diamond here pretty soon. I'm
Ooh.
like 26, 27-ish.
It'll be a quick climb. Once you get in the pace of it, it's especially for any
Just play Reaper.
yeah. All right. So Wild, do you miss the Overwatch 2 beta, or are you completely satisfied with playing Overwatch competitive?
I mean, you know me pretty well. I will play whatever is in front of me, Overwatch related, and just continue to play it as long as it's not in a box.
Ouch, I'll take that personally.
It was very targeted. But it's a little sad to see it go so quick. It's like getting a little sneak peek of it. I do think I'm more excited than anything. A little bit of sadness, but mostly excitement to see what data they can pull from it and how they adjust the game and see what the next beta brings. So I think we'll see a couple more, at least, just to one keep people enticed in the game, but also they're gonna be updating and they got a lot of data to run through now.
Definitely. Is there one feature, do you think, that you miss the most from Overwatch 2? Like, I couldn't care less whether there's 5 or 6 heroes. What do you think is the big thing that stands out?
I'm really feeling the pain in my comp games of getting back onto 2 CP maps.
Yeah, I'll agree on that.
I was really liking the push mode. I think it's very unique just in general with different games. It's a very unique twist on the first person shooter and the style that Overwatch is. And not having that, I'm definitely starting to miss that one a little bit. It's very
In terms of pace too, it's very different. Uh,
Oh, very much so.
the 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 one thing that I was thinking about, and it's funny you bring up 2CP, is that I appreciate the pace of 2CP. I had a game earlier, and also too last night, where I really enjoyed myself playing 2CP. I had a lot of fun, and it wasn't just because we stomped the enemy. It was actually quite fair. It was a good fight the entire time. But while that was happening, I was in the back of my mind going, well, this can also be extremely miserable. I will ask you, do you think 2CP is something that could potentially still work in Overwatch 2? And maybe if they rework it, put it in a way, or even something that can go in like the arcade or go in quick play. Are those things that could potentially happen? Or I don't know. Maybe I'm just kind of spitballing here because I will somewhat miss it. I'm sure you agree maybe that you'll somewhat miss it too, but they're also it's just terrible in some situations.
um I I like 2CP. I think it's fun. I think the maps are unique and interesting. Like taking Temple of Anubis as a Lucio player for me, there's so much you can do there. I can stall point for 3 minutes. You have so much movement capabilities, and the maps themselves are designed very well. And I'm definitely gonna miss that. I hope they do throw this into arcade or quick play rotation. I just don't think in the comp scenario where you can have matches go to 8 and 10 and 45-minute 2CP matches that I don't think it's viable for the fast pace that people want out of this game.
Definitely. That feels like a good argument against it. I do agree though. Overall, I will miss 2CP, but I think it is a good thing that it is gone. Well, how about
Most
then?
definitely.
You mentioned Push too. You really like Push. Let's talk a little bit more about Push. What do you like about Push?
I really like that, and I've been watching some of Overwatch League here recently, and even watching the pros play and comparing that to the games I'm having. It When you get two teams that are really close and that game mode comes down to meters, it feels good. Is you're fighting for every inch of space you can get. Every time that bot walks forward is more momentum towards you winning, and I it honestly to me feels like it's probably going to be the best judge of who's better when you get down to it. What team is playing better together? If they have any standouts, it really shows on those maps.
I think that's a good point too, especially when it splits teams up quite a bit. It does, or at least not splits them up, but there's so many angles that you can be aggressed from. You have to work hard as a team together, and if you it's just in the end, if you don't work as a team better than the other team, you won't win. Whereas just 2CP, sometimes it does feel completely random where they can exploit just one specific person and then I guess win the fight off of that. You gotta wait and go back to spawn and group up. Um, it's like the opposite of 2CP, right? Where it's consistent fights all the time whenever you want, as long as you have a proper and safe angle.
It it really opens up the door for DPS and supports to shine outside of just sitting behind their tank and waiting for the push to start. You can get early picks. There's a lot of flank angles. You gotta pay attention when you play the map.
Well, I'm see, I'm on the edge too. Is like I'm still gonna miss the second tank, and even in game modes like Push too, and I've been playing them a lot. They feel like they would be really nice to have that second tank. Is there anything there that you miss at all, or are you just like I do feel it sounds to me like you're just completely okay with all the Overwatch 2 changes, and they could update the game, we would move past everything that we have now, and you just forget about it, and you wouldn't worry about it at all. Like it's just like 2CP's gone, good, gone. We got a new game mode, awesome. I really like the new game mode. Right, it's faster. Yeah, let's do it. One less shield in my face. That's awesome. Like, is there anything that you would really look back at and go, no, I need to play Overwatch again, Overwatch Classic?
Yeah, I like looking at it from the support side. Not having that second tank it makes it tricky. It makes the game a lot more difficult to play. There's a lot more going on because you only have one tank. So having that second tank really brings about team fights and setting stuff up, which I'm definitely gonna miss. And I think it'll still happen. We just haven't fully developed into Overwatch 2 yet. Even watching Overwatch League, they're still figuring stuff out. APAC's doing different stuff than North America. It's all over the place.
Like
But
I believe we mentioned last time that over time the games will clean up a little bit as everybody starts to learn
oh,
different strategies.
oh yeah. But I definitely feeling the lack of a tank on the supports. Just normally your off tank is gonna help peel for supports, and that's not there anymore. So you got to start fighting for yourself, which I'm not too used to. So getting into the hang of that.
So
But
back on TPS.
yeah. But for the most part, I think it is a good change. I think it's gonna speed the game up, which is really what we want. Looking at a lot of other first-person shooters, it's all just sitting and holding angles. You're gonna hold the angle until someone pushes into it and you kill them.
I
So I think
it,
for Overwatch at least, that gives it an edge
like it feels to
over.
me at the end of the day, just to bring that in too. Like we played a lot of scraps. Wild's been around for a lot of different scrap fights where we have totally we've custom games. We change up the different heroes, change how many people fight against, whatever. We've even done like 1v1, 2v2 competitive rules before, which is actually it ends up quite fun. It still feels like Overwatch at the end of the day, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, I mean Overwatch is Overwatch. One or two is it's still Overwatch. You're still playing the same game. Just some of the rule sets change slightly.
I'm starting to sympathize with the developers a little bit more with balance. Like, do you think they're going to go the direction of just over tuning heroes when they introduce them and just balancing things to whatever comes up with that season? Or do you think they know what they're doing this time and potentially they might be building a much more balanced Overwatch? Because I just to note I would imagine that they would potentially come back and rethink the entire system from the ground up. Maybe balance. Who knows what numbers they have, what they've noticed over the past few years, right? Does it feel like they're going at that in a much more methodical way, or are we looking at a much more wild Overwatch? Because to me, it feels like we're looking at a much more wild Overwatch coming up.
Um, I think it's gonna be a lot more wild. I think this is a misconception I see a lot of people have with balance, is that you're looking for that perfect balance, right? But they need to keep updating the game, they have to keep changing stuff. So they're always going to leave it a little out of balance. It's never going to be perfect. And that's why they can update heroes and change numbers to keep the game interesting for people. So I don't think it'll ever be perfectly balanced. I think the closest we'll ever see to that is the current patch for Overwatch 1 right now. You can play about anything you want, but after a certain point, the game's just going to start to get dull because there's always a meta that has to be played, and one team plays it and the other one doesn't, and it's going to be the end of that game.
It definitely feels like a really like a dull conclusion, which I think I've come to too. And you can disagree with it, but it seems like you're just saying too, it's gonna be Overwatch. It doesn't matter what type of Overwatch it is. Like there will be times when the balance is kind of out of whack. Uh, but that's what we've been dealing with this entire time, and like that's where I feel like most of us dedicated Overwatch players sit. And I know probably your dedicated Overwatch friends are the same, correct?
Oh yeah, we're all kind of the same mindset that this is how the game is. So we're just going to keep playing it and get better and better every day.
Like, has anything changed? You're still doing scrims. I'm sorry, I should have asked this before, but you're still doing scrims, correct?
Not at the moment, no.
Not at the
I did
moment.
a little bit for Overwatch 2 just to see how they ran for higher level play and working with better teammates to actually set stuff up. But back on Overwatch 1, no, I'm not.
Okay, okay. Because I am really curious what the more casual, dedicated, well, casual, dedicated. I like to say it in comparison to professional, right? Like the more dedicated players, dedicated hobbyist players are doing, because it's not changing our scraps, that's for sure. We're just gonna jump to the next game and keep going, keep enjoying it, and keep building off what we have. Um, but it does seem to me like they potentially might go in a much more wild direction. I guess I probably should look this up before we do stuff like this, but I do believe one of the and I was looking for it. One of the the head Fortnite developers is actually now working over in um well, over with Blizzard on Overwatch 2, and I believe you can correct me, Wild, if I don't know if you heard this, but the only reason why we had the beta was because of this head developer that had went over to become some kind of lead at Blizzard. He wanted to. They were not even planning to have a beta at the time, and oh man, it was on. I'm pretty sure it was on SVB's podcast. I'll have to look it up again at some point in time. But what are your thoughts about that? I know it's a little wild, but that so no pun intended. Um, but
I
like,
didn't hear anything about that,
okay.
honestly. I don't keep up with the news too much. I just follow balance patches and see what's happening.
But what I'm more
But
concerned about is like your thoughts on it being a much them going in the direction of like, okay, let's just get really cool things in the game, I guess. Is that something that you see as like a good future for Overwatch? Or are you a
yes,
balance purist? Are you on the
yes and no,
okay.
because there's a lot of cool things, and I know they've given some sneak peeks to heroes and ideas that they're working on, and Sojourn's a good example of it. Of she's got a really unique kit, but at the end of the day, if you put her and Soldier next to each other, they're just opposites. She's got a hit scan right click and projectile primary fire, while
Didn't even think of
Soldier
that.
is the exact opposite.
Wow. Wow. Her mobility ability is a one-time use like like commitment
Hit it.
whatever, where soldiers is very refined infinite use ability. Yeah, okay, okay. They just took soldier and I didn't see that before. That's really interesting.
But they got a lot of new stuff coming. I know they've talked about the other mechs coming into the game.
Okay.
Excited to see maybe some more tanks, a DPS or two, maybe a support from that lineup. I think having a mech support would be very interesting.
Because I'm definitely on the side of start introducing cool, crazy stuff and balance as we go, and keep introducing more cool, crazy stuff that we can never figure out what is the meta at the point. That is kind of my opinion. Um, it feels to me the meta should be in shift in such a way that, like, okay, maybe there are some heroes that have some extreme overlap, but at the end of the day, people will be arguing which one is better, even if the numbers prove one or the other.
Oh yeah, and that's an argument that we'll always see. But I think having new heroes and getting new abilities and different things to use on the field is what they're trying to do. At least that's what I'm hoping they're trying to do. The more changes they make to the game and the more heroes they allow us to pick is always going to keep this game fresh. Our last hero that we got was Echo, and that was 2 years ago almost.
Pretty close to it. Oh my god, I have to bring calendar up.
And I think that's why a lot of people are feeling pretty stagnant on Overwatch 1. But I think if they can start giving out new heroes with Overwatch 2 pretty quickly, I'm hoping for the release we at least get a couple. And then keep rolling them out. And like you said, if they can just keep adjusting numbers in the back end for balance patches, and the game will never be stagnant.
Because I
But
hope that yeah, like I hope
that's a
there's
lot of work.
we never find the answer. Like that's kind of my goal. Even if there is one best team composition, I feel like there should be another hero or another tweak or something that changes it so fast that you wouldn't even figure it. Like you wouldn't have time to do the testing on it, right? Like I. It's gonna be a little crazy here, but I wish there was like an ability that blew through shield or open shields in Overwatch, because that would just fix the shield problem, and or at least I feel like it would. There seems to be like gameplay opportunities that they could have done without completely removing that, and potentially, but I am confident that they'll start to build those things with Overwatch 2. I'll tell you for sure, the thing that I do miss jumping back to Overwatch is that I feel like Overwatch has been neglected, and Overwatch 2 is everybody was having fun, right?
Yeah. Overwatch 2 brought in a lot more of the casual players that have gone on to other games, and if they got that beta pass, they were going to hop on and play and see what's going on. I definitely felt it in my games where I'd have
Yeah, it was bad.
streamers in one game and then looked like bronze players in the next, but as long as people are having fun with the game, it really doesn't matter what rank you play.
because that's kind of the point of the game, right?
Mhm.
Like it's just, I guess that's it's to have fun.
It was
But
definitely weird for me without that MMR system to balance games.
yeah, that was really weird playing up against a team and not knowing or not having any sense of how good they were. Like you'd come up against a Genji that would just be murdering everybody, and you'd be like, "Oh man, I wish I knew what tier of player he was at." But I also don't think actually the biggest complaint and one of the big complaints about Overwatch was how hard it was to climb or how hard it was to like understand what you're doing. Do you think they're changing that with it? Because I don't. I think Overwatch 2 is going to be the exact same. You're just going to be everybody who's gold might be platinum because there's more casual players on shitty computers. Uh, so as long as you play more than the average person, you'll be higher rank. But like, there's potentially not going to be a change in that, correct? Or do you feel like there's going to be some big change in the competitive, unless they change competitive completely?
If anything, I would say it's going to be a little harder to climb.
Okay. Reasoning?
We're going to get more people, influx of people coming back to Overwatch. And you're competing with a lot of really good players that have stuck in the game. And we're going to have a lot of new players coming in that are fresh talent.
Okay.
We've seen people that come into the game and are immediately in diamond because they just have really good aim.
Of course, of course.
But then they're going to be up against the veterans of the game that have been playing it for the last how many years has Overwatch been out? And they understand the game and the game sense, and they're just going to be able to outplay them no matter what the aim is. So I think having that influx of people, at least for the first couple months, is going to be pretty hard to climb. Just everyone kind of figuring out what ranks they are and resetting MMRs.
That's a good point. The I think the bar for aim is going to go up for a while with all the Valorant players and CS:GO players hopping by to try out the new 5v5.
Oh yeah, for sure. If you can't compete with them for aim, it's going to get pretty tricky. I'd say for the veteran players of Overwatch, focus on what you know about the game and how you can outmaneuver them as a team.
Okay. Well, instead of talking about the negative, then let's flip us around to the positive. I know we talked a little bit of this last time, but is there anything that you think new players should really look forward to? And I know we just got to play the PvP beta, so we only know from the PvP. But is there anything coming back that they know that they're gonna have a lot of fun with? You know, they're gonna have a lot of fun with. That's gonna be a big change from the original Overwatch.
Um, I mean, the biggest thing for casual players, I think, is going to be the PvE. I think I said this last week,
Yeah,
but
you did.
I think that's going to be the biggest thing to look forward to as far as PvP. I'm really hoping that they put in like a classic Overwatch in arcade where you've got your 6v6 still. I'm very interested to see how that compares having two tanks on the field. If with the new balances, how that changes stuff up, or if they'll do anything to make that more unique. But definitely, just the pace of the game is really the biggest thing that I always see and always comes to mind for me. And I'm interested to see with newer players coming in where that pace is set at the different ranks, at the different levels in quick play,
There'll
and what's going
be
on there.
there'll be a different culture, right? A different culture of gameplay. Uh,
Hmm.
I it does. Hmm. Yeah, it does seem to me. I would say that new players should hopefully look forward to thinking more about Overwatch as a sport than a game. That's my mentality, because a lot of Overwatch players that I know that are brand new to the game or haven't played the game in a long time jump in and just kind of assume it's a game, right? Like it's a game, like a game that you play like Battlefield, right? Where you're just kind of running around and shooting people, and there is an overarching like goal to it. You should be getting from A to B and clearing the objective or doing these certain things, but they're like Overwatch, the people that play the dedicated players that play Overwatch see Overwatch as this like tight knit group of highly skilled individuals coming together to combo everything together. Whereas the average player comes in, the average just like Call of Duty player. I'm not trying to talk down as a Call of Duty player or some Call of Duty player, but any shooter player, they're more like, okay, I'm here just to have fun, to shoot things, to get into crazy moments, to clutch these games in crazy ways. I really hope that Blizzard changes that perspective a bit, especially with the scoreboard. I hope they do something with the scoreboard, do something with guilds, and do something with your stats that you can take a look and go, okay, I am now like when we jump into Overwatch, we're now looking at a sport. We're now like playing FIFA instead of playing Battlefield, right? That's the big difference. I really hope they go in that direction. It feels like they might go in that direction, but yeah, I feel too like that's going to be a lot more content because specializing and getting good at an individual hero is a lot of why like the dedicated Overwatch players stay for so long. We don't come in just because there's like content. The enemy team is the content for us. I think you feel the same way, Wild.
Yeah, and with you mentioning guilds, it's not the first time I've heard about this, and I'm actually very hopeful that they make that a reality. Granted, for me, that's going to become very complex because I play with a lot of different people at different ranks, and I don't know what I'll do there. But I think, especially getting into the 5v5 and the more competitive side of it, because that's really, I'm not here as a casual player. I'm in it for the comp and the adrenaline of the game. But getting into the 5v5s and having a guild so you can see where your team ranks as a team, as a cohesive unit. You might have GM players, you might have bronze players, but if they can all play well together, I think that's going to really push the bar for competitive, push the bar for quick play, and make everyone better at the game.
And emphasize the sportness of Overwatch because
Oh, yeah.
Overwatch is a sport. Or I would put Overwatch on the same rank as like chess and football at the same time, right? Like it's got a very controlled pace to it where you do have these certain abilities and things that other characters can't do, so you do make up for your team in certain ways. But then you also have the pure individualistic part of it where you are the piece on the chessboard that has to move in a certain way. Like if we can focus on that, and even if like I like to think about different communities in ways of guilds, like hopefully we can bring the Scrub Club onto the Overwatch platform itself so we can reach out to more people and help them learn Overwatch and also help them find other communities that are dedicated competitive players, because I know it's really hard to find. It's actually really hard to find communities that are dedicated and actually know how to play the game and are willing to teach people how to do these things. Like if we can get those on the Overwatch platform itself, and other people can get those people on the Overwatch platform itself, we'll have like we'll have like a revolution in Overwatch skill. I believe there's going to be a lot more working together. There's going to be a lot more communication. There's going to be a lot more community building. There's going to be a lot more just overall improvement of the game from a player perspective.
Yeah, and going off of that, I think with the guilds, we're also going to see a lot more coaching and helping out the newer players or the lower ranked players to get better and be able to improve because that's going to help your guild.
People will
Think,
want to. I think we're getting bored of being spoon-fed just content, even though I think we love content. And if you want more content, there's going to be a certain pace where you just realize you don't really want the content. Now we got to step back and be competitive. We got to learn internally, get better internally. Yeah. Anyway, don't let me interrupt you. Well, sorry. I got one.
ah, the, and I think as well with that, having more coaching and trying to get this game to be more of a team-based and community-based game, I think that's also going to help a lot with the toxicity.
Absolutely.
You're not going to have a lot of just single players out there. People are going to play as groups and play together, and it's going to really single out the extremely toxic and push them away from the game, which, in my own opinion, good riddance. I don't like toxicity. It's got its place in small amounts is one thing, but I've played a couple games in the last few days, and Overwatch 1 I think is pretty rough right now for toxicity and people getting mad at each other. The game I just came off of ended with 3 of our teammates yelling at each other
Yeah,
in the defeat screen.
it's a bit nerve-wracking sometimes, but I am positive for the future of Overwatch, and I do hope that, like, I do believe a lot of the change will come in the community side, and hopefully Blizzard gives us the tools to build a better community overall. But Wild, I'm gonna cut it off there because we've hit 3:30. I'm gonna be jumping into pre-fights in just a moment for Sunday Scrub Club Scraps. I do want to thank you a lot for coming out. We talk about a lot of different things today because I think Overwatch is in a little bit of a stage of uncertainty at the moment where we're all of us as players, we're not really sure about what's coming up next. We know what we want. We know what they kind of told what's going to come out, but we don't really believe Blizzard's promises anymore. So we're like, hopefully over time, things will focus themselves a bit, and we will definitely see more of Wild in the next few episodes, next few months coming. Yeah, other than that, I need a proper outro too. I didn't start with an intro last time, so I need like an outro. It's a weird outro. Exactly. All right. Well, GG's gamers. Again, thank you, Wild, for coming out. And yeah, I will hopefully talk to you next week. This will be up on YouTube. So yeah.
Sounds good.
All right, we cut it here.